Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here. Welcome to another episode of Spending Time, the aBlogtoWatch podcast. I'm here with a special guest, Mr. Santiago Tejedor. He is our contributor in Spain. Hello, Santiago.
Hello.
So, some interesting topics today. We're about to get very brainy. I wanted to discuss this sort of interesting dichotomy in consumer behavior between two opposing forces when it comes to watch pricing. And we talked about this a little bit before the call. On the one hand, we're going to sort of debate the pros and cons of each side and see if we can come to any conclusions about what's more profitable for the watch industry. On the one hand, there's the argument that discounting is bad. These are luxury products, and that discounting luxury products inherently makes consumers lose faith in the value proposition, not take the brands as seriously, and of course, brands are worried about the reputation and high society status as an expensive product. On the other hand, you have discounting. Discounting happens in various ways, and an argument can be made that without discounting, you wouldn't get the excited consumer behavior of getting a deal. That a lot of consumers, especially in America and other parts of the world, are motivated not just by the item, but the ability to get the item in a special way, and in this instance, a special price. And that these items without discounts wouldn't get enough of the right type of consumers excited, and that a lot of sales would decrease. So what we're doing is we're trying to explore from a profitability standpoint what would be more advantageous to the watch industry, supporting discounting to a degree or encouraging no discounts of any kind. I'll open the floor to you. What do you think?
It's a difficult thing. I think discounts per se are not bad, but the whole idea that the industry is working on discounts or the possibility of getting discounts does not benefit the industry. I think it damages it
Tell me why.
because,
Yeah, go
but,
on.
but let me tell you, because there is never a right price. Okay, if I go to a boutique and I'm just because I said hello, they give me a 15% discount. Then I can go to another boutique and ask for more or see how much I can get, and so it's you never know which is the price of the product, and that is not good
Okay,
for the
that's a
product.
very important point, and I think a lot of people share this. I'm gonna express it a little in a different way. Will you allow me to?
Absolutely, go ahead.
What you're talking about is it's a form of consumer confidence, price confidence. If you don't know as a consumer what you should be spending on any given product, you are less likely to make a purchase decision because you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're always going to think you're spending too much, correct?
True, true. Yep.
So what does one do about that? What is the solution to that problem? Is it just no discounts, or is it having more consistency in discounting, right? Like there's a range. Right now, I think maybe today the range of discounting is just way too high. Way too high.
But if there has to be a range of discounts, who establishes it? I mean, who says up to, say, 12% or up to 5%? Who is who sets the rule there?
I think it's set by the margin that is allowed. I think one of the things that watch industry has actually agreed with me on, surprise, surprise, is that watch retailer margins are too big, and that it allows for discounting, massive discounting. I mean, you and I know that the average margin, and again, there of course are exceptions, is somewhere between, on the low end, about 35 to 38% for a Rolex and some like steel Pateks, to about 50% for a lot of watches. That is a relatively big margin, and much bigger margin. So imagine, for example, that a $50,000 car from a wholesale price actually cost $100,000. Would you stand for that as a consumer, given the types of margins that dealerships have today that are sometimes hundreds of dollars, even for a $100,000 car?
Yeah, that's the problem because it's an established behavior, isn't it? Now we all think we go and buy whichever car and we are going to get a discount. It's just so you would think that the guy is crazy if he tries to sell you the car to a lower price, but with no discount. He will say, no, 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 there's something wrong there. I need a discount. So that I think, as I say, there should be a fixed price established by the brand, and if the sellers, the boutique, they want to, I don't know, offer a discount, it's crazy that there is a 20% discount, because again, it says that the product is false. I mean, not false in the sense that the price is false. It's just artificial. So
So would you? So you would argue that discounting of any kind is bad for the market. Would you say that's correct?
not really, no, no, it's not that, because if I have a business, I run my business the way I want. But the image that the end user gets, if he can get or she can get a big discount, is that they are fooling me. There's something wrong here. They're just earning too much money on me. I mean, you understand a 5% discount to a point. I don't know if you're paying cash in advance or something, but to go and get a 20% discount, I mean, that's crazy, or a
Okay. Okay. So
15% discount.
is it a systemic issue? So here, so let me give you an example. Okay, you and I are in our own special ways in media, and one of the things we do as media is we sell advertising to watch brands. And when we started to do this to the serious watch brands, one of the interesting things we started to see was them really pushing back on price in sometimes very, very aggressive ways. And we first felt very strange that there was such an expectation of discounts, sometimes massive discounts, until we realized that, similar to what watch brands are doing, other more traditional media had these rate cards, which they call them, which are these menus of advertising pricing, which are artificially set very high, so that when a client bought at a lower price, that client felt super special. And when a client wasn't offered some special discount immediately, they went ahead and decided, we don't want to do this deal. So I agree with you, but at the same time want to demonstrate a consumer behavior that leads to the doing of business, where the doing of business may have not been done. Maybe it's not just value proposition, but maybe a lot of consumers need to feel in some strange way that they are special or slightly different than the other one. There's something in the purchase of so many of the quasi luxury goods we get, or the actual luxury goods that we get, that is about somebody else not being able to have it.
Yeah, I'm being smarter than anybody else because I'm getting this much discount, isn't it? Yeah, I know. I mean, we all feel that. We all feel that, and we go and buy I don't know, aftershave from a well-reputed brand, and we get it at a 10% discount. Oh, well, look what I got. Yeah, I mean, it answers to a, I don't know. I don't know if it's in our DNA to be proud of getting a discount, but it does answer to that need or want or feel good matter. But it is not right, because, as I say, there's always this feeling, or I sense it, that they're just making too much money out of it, and it shouldn't be like that. It should be more down to earth. I mean, if you go to other items which are not luxurious, you don't get that much discount, do you? Why is it with luxury things? Why is it? Because they are making too much money and they can't afford to give a discount. So I think that doesn't mean that luxurious things should be cheaper or cheap. They just need to be more believable, so to speak. If you get my point, that's
So
what I
there's
think.
okay. So let's recap, because I think we actually have not even come to a conclusion yet. We haven't even got there. Um,
Mm.
I am saying that while I don't necessarily think the discounting that goes on today needs to remain the same way it is, discounting or the availability of a special deal lubricates a transaction in a way that may not be possible otherwise, especially because there is very little actual rarity in many of these watches. How many brands can you think of that you like their products, can literally only make 500 watches a year. Can you how many brands can you think of that you can afford that can legitimately only make, despite their best efforts, 500 watches a year? Which would create actual exclusivity and rarity in the market such that the availability of the products would be low enough that you would feel the retail price makes sense because these things are hot, and if you don't pay full price, someone else will. Whereas we live in a watch economy where there's so much unsold inventory, you're like, well, who else is going to buy it?
Yeah, well, that's a different subject, isn't it? I mean, the
Or
situation
maybe
of
it's
the
related. It's
industry.
part of the
Yeah,
economics.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's all related, but it's a different matter, I think. The problem that the industry has such a huge surplus of watches going around, it's what leads to all these many problems of the gray market, of the huge discounts, because just businesses, they just need to get rid of all that stock which they have already paid. But that is a different cause. It shouldn't be like that either, you know. Probably if the industry hadn't gone this crazy in the last years, producing far more than they needed, things would be different. I don't know. You know it better, but that's my opinion. I actually think that gray market has been so well promoted by certain brands because out of survival needs. I mean, if we don't get rid of this, we're going to die. We're going to drown in our
You
own
know what?
watches.
Let me tell you something. I, for the longest time, believed very strongly that if the watch brand headquarters in Switzerland wanted to stop the gray market, they could easily do so. I'm not saying they don't have a strong hand in it, but I have, for example, we did an ad for a large gray market dealer whose name I will keep silent because I received so much authentically negative feedback from the watch industry because they legitimately considered that gray market company to be a serious threat and an unwanted resource out there. No matter how many transactions they did, no matter how many watches they moved per year, you know, I know that gray market company has plenty of happy customers. The watch industry sees it as a threat that they don't necessarily know how to handle, and I now believe that they're not as sort of powerful as I believe they were in sort of stopping these problems or getting themselves out of some of these holes that they've dug themselves into. So I think that the critiques that we've had of the watch industry over the years that you and I have shared are probably still accurate, but we sort of overestimate their ability to change course, or for a lot of these executives to personally have power to do a lot of things that we feel that we would do in their position. You know what I mean?
Well, that may be so, but the thing is, take for instance last year rebuying, stock rebuying. That put, I don't know, 1,500 million euros in the,
Wait, what
I
happened?
you know, when they had to rebuy all the stock
Who?
in from the East market, and you know that all came
Like,
back. That
oh, like Cartier and stuff like that?
yeah, and Cartier and some others,
Yeah, they weren't the only
they
one. What's wrong with that?
no, that's okay, but then that's the result of oversupplying the you know, all the boutiques with watches.
Yeah, I mean
Now,
they're like legitimately starting to take responsibility. Like I have to
yes,
be kind of
yes,
proud of them.
yes, but then practices have not changed. Then the next year comes and
Oh yeah,
hey,
yeah.
buyers,
They're like
here
a
is the
broken
order
record.
again. Whoop.
Okay, yeah. That no, you're right. That is a very strange and peculiar behavior that the watch industry seems to examine. It's like they have amnesia. Maybe that's why they keep coming with the same designs. Like they forgot they already made them.
Yeah, that could be, yeah.
You're right. They do something awful, and then like a year or two later, like it happens again, and they're like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "We know, we know." They're like smoking outside in the freezing cold. We know. Why'd you
Yeah.
do it again? Oh, the pressure. Like what
Yeah, I know.
pressure? You're a
And
luxury company. All you do is party all the time.
Yeah, but the
Oh,
thing is, the sales figures go from 1 year, and then when you rebuy stock, that's the following year, and that's a different accountability, you know. So,
you
so
know who
this,
I blame, right? You know who I blame for all this.
who do you blame? Tell us.
Corporate overlords.
Yeah, well put. Yeah.
I mean, look, I fully appreciate the good taste of some of these big corporations to buy these cool little brands. But if you actually appreciate them and you know that as a big corporation you're going to utterly destroy them, why are you buying them in the first place? Or why are you having that happen? Why not realize that to protect your investment you need to let it run relatively autonomously? I mean, look how great Land Rover and Jaguar are doing. Look, I'm not an insider, but what they tell me is that their owners are basically hands off. As long as they're making money, they don't care. Yet, in the watch industry, it's like it doesn't matter how great of a thing they're doing. Like the corporate hands have to get their fingers into everything, and I have no idea why. Like, who wins here?
But yeah, it depends on the approach, doesn't it? I mean, some companies buy other watch companies and they just let them go. They just take care of the finances, and they take cost control, but they do not destroy the core business. It's a different way of seeing. I mean, that in that sense, when they do that, when they just take a brand and sort of destroy it for reasons we don't understand, and perhaps there are reasons, but from
Oh,
the outside,
I know why. I can tell you why.
why is that then?
The companies do not know how to hire someone to run the company. They think they know, but they don't know. They hire these like management firms. The bottom line is they fundamentally misunderstand that a watch company is not a commodity company. It doesn't produce something people need like cars or shoes. It produces a piece of artwork. Unless you have someone who is an artist themselves and appreciates artwork and understands how people get excited and motivated emotionally about artwork, they should not be running a company that makes artwork. Yes, there's a mechanical element to it, there's a factory, blah, 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 blah. I get all that. Then have someone separate run the factory and run the design division, just like Rolex does.
But is that so? I mean, when these big luxury companies who own watch companies buy other companies who are watch companies, they should know what
There's
they're buying,
no
right?
creative directors anywhere. There's engineers and like scam artists. That's the
Kind of
only
sad.
people in the watch industry. I mean, honestly. I mean, in the production side, we are hopefully neither. I don't want people relying on me for good engineering. I mean, I'm a critic at the end of the day. I have not proven myself to be designer. Not yet.
But because you're not, that would be the thing. If you are not, and then you say, "No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to this." Well, you
Well, then
have
I
to
would
know.
have to actually do a design. I haven't done any designs yet. That's the thing. If I do a design and go through the process of it and like, you know, do the things that designers do, then sure I can call myself a designer. But I don't have products out there with my name on it, so I'm not a designer yet.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. And as you are not, you shouldn't take charge of the design department of a watch company, which is what some do. Yes, following your point. Yeah, they go and say you here because once you said you liked the color of your wife's car. Now you're going to decide on the look of the watches. That's the wrong part of it. Yeah, that's what they do wrong, and they shouldn't do. But as I say, why on earth? I mean, if you are buying a watch company, you should know how it goes. Why do you do it so wrong? That's the
Because the people they are trying to satisfy, the bosses, the board, isn't actually very interested in the things that will make good watches. They're interested in a bunch of other stuff, which is fine, I guess. But that's really it. They're not like they don't understand what makes a good watch brand. None of these guys do. I mean, look, you could put like 10 really well qualified watch experts. We'll just call them that, whatever that is. Maybe that's guys like you and me and people that sell watches and people that make whatever in a room and ask them one question and you'll get 10 different answers. And that is, why is Rolex successful? Okay, if they can't understand a basic brand like Rolex, and these are experts, who's going to be able to explain this information?
Well, I don't know.
You hear what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, I do know. Yeah.
So it's important to consider the actual complexity, not just the sort of like perceived excitement of this. Like, you are tapping into human emotion, and you are selling them something which is intended to make them feel good. You know, it's like when you drive that right kind of car. It makes you feel a way that you want to be in again and again. And that only seems to come from some combination of engineering and art. If you lose that emotional element, you just have like an appliance on wheels. And a lot of watches
But
today are appliances on the wrist.
yes, but there's also some other part because if you only sold emotion, then the client wouldn't ask for a discount because if it appealed to your senses, absolutely, then you would say, "Oh, shut up and take my money."
Is that the
No,
type
we all
is
want
that
a
the type
discount.
of consumer you are? Are you a shut up and take my money kind of guy?
No. But I mean, if it was only about the pure sentiment of it, you wouldn't discuss the money. Now, since the industry has established
I
that
don't
this
know
is
that
a
I don't know
luxury.
that I'm that type of consumer. I think that even if I emotionally want it, I want that deal even more.
Yes, but how much are you ready to pay? Because if you felt it like this is the thing I wanted, you wouldn't discuss that much the
No, I
price.
would.
But
I
since
would. I've done
I
it
know,
many times.
but because
Many times.
yeah, but the industry lets you do it because the industry has established that this is a thing that you can argue on or discuss the price of.
Look,
If
let's
if it
let's
wasn't
reframe it.
there,
I always try to advocate a certain um how you should say. I try to advocate a certain exchange of value. I don't like asking just for discounts for the sake of discounts. I never thought that was a good idea. I never thought you should just have a discount because someone's like, "Yo, I'm alive. Give me a discount." That's stupid. There should be a reason. This is defective. I'm giving you this in exchange. You need to get rid of these. Okay? So, I think that there's a certain type of expectation that consumers had, uh, which is unfair, but there are many situations that if you ask, you can get an advantageous offer because of a situation which is slightly different.
yes, give me a discount because I'm actually making you a favor.
Look, I mean, that can happen a lot. How often have you wanted to buy a watch and you've asked yourself, who has one that they can't sell? Because that's who's going to give you the best price, right?
Yeah, but it's I've been in a boutique of a brand, the official boutique, and a guy sat down and asked for a watch, and the guy said, "Yeah, it's this watch. Here it is. You have it. It's pink gold." He said, "Yeah, but what's the discount here?" Bloody hell! I mean, you're going to buy a watch, and the first thing you ask is the discount, and it was a very expensive watch. It's something wrong there, and that's, in my belief, is that
They
what the industry
offended you,
has
sir.
created.
That man offended you.
No, but I mean, if the perception we have of the watch as something you have to discuss the price of didn't exist, then you wouldn't discuss the price that much, or at least not to that level. I mean, you say, I'm going to ask for a discount because I know they're in trouble. Jesus Christ, that's not the basis of a discount, right? I'm going to take advantage of the situation of this business. I don't
I
know.
see
You
it as
ask.
helping. I see it as helping.
Okay.
Look, if there's any look, you know what? In all of society, in my opinion, the best communicators are merchants who desperately want to get rid of something. No one communicates better than a merchant that wants to get rid of something. They will get your attention at whatever cost.
This is true. I mean, you don't have to convince me on that. I mean, I even argue the price even when it's free. So,
You do?
yeah, I'm Spanish. We're
Wait a
used to
minute, wait
that.
a minute. You were just talking ill of a kind of behavior, and then you just basically say, I do it?
Because we're talking in theory, and the theory to me is that there shouldn't be this situation in which it is the normal thing to ask for a discount as my first
So
question.
wouldn't it just be like slightly easier to go with human tendency and figure out the best way of handling it than be like, let's take the thing that humans are most likely to do and ask ourselves, wouldn't it be great if they just don't do that anymore?
If who doesn't do that anymore?
Humans. I feel like with this notion, like I think that it's part of human nature to want to get the most efficient value, that you want the most for your money. So you want it to extend the furthest. So you're right. There can be social detriments to asking for discounts too much. But if all things are equal, why not ask for a discount?
Yes, but it's a question of the industry because you don't go to a gas station and ask for a discount, right? Hey, I'm going to refill my Honda Acura.
Yeah, but
I need a
you're
discount.
not taking that gas, close to your body for the next 20 years. You want to look at that
Well,
thing and be like, this
you
was
sit on
mine.
it, you sit on
It's a
it.
trophy. It's a trophy. You remember? Did you read the article that I wrote about how watches make the best trophies?
I should say yes,
Okay,
but I
we want
didn't.
we
I'm
want
sorry.
to earn our trophies, and getting a good deal is part of earning it.
I know, yes, that's how it feels. It shouldn't be that, let's say it shouldn't be a 20% discount trophy. That's what drives me crazy because it gives a bad name to the product. It's
I
not a
agree with you. I agree
luxurious
with you.
thing.
Okay, so what's a good discount? 10%, 10 to 12%. That when you feel like you got that, you're like, okay, I feel good. I think that's okay. I can live with that.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I come from the industrial world, and in my jobs and stuff, and getting more than a 5% in an industrial thing is
Okay,
impossible.
Santiago, you are also a consumer.
Yeah, I know. No, I don't trust anything that is heavily discounted. Let's put it that way. To me, it sounds like
So for you, it's about trust.
yeah, and a heavily discounted thing, unless it is going off like a yogurt or something like that, I don't trust it. Name it Rolex or I don't know, or
Hey,
a
you know what? You
Swatch.
know what? If there's anything the watch industry taught us both, it's this. Watches, surprisingly enough, have an expiration date. If they pass their expiration date, wow, do they need to get the hell out of the fridge, i.e. the watch
Yeah,
case.
that is true, Ariel. That is true. Won't discuss that. That is very true.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go on to the next topic. I don't think that we established whether or not a discounting economy or a never a discount economy is better. I think we did establish they touch on different types of human behavior that the same person can possibly demonstrate in different types of scenarios. I think that what's important is that some blending of the two is probably best in most situations.
Hmm.
Discounting, as you pointed out, is too much right now, and too much of a rigid industry where there's never any deals and no one's a friend ever means that no one can really celebrate and feel special. So there needs to be some type of mixture of them both. It's probably about half or even sometimes less of what it is right now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Okay, next topic. So you told me that you were slightly apprehensive in upcoming engagement to speak to some other watch collectors. This is something that I've done myself from time to time. And I thought it'd
Yeah.
be interesting to explore what is it that you and I may worry about prior to speaking to a group of like-minded individuals on a topic that we are well acquainted with. What usually goes through your mind?
Well, first of all, words. What I am actually going to say. What am I going to express properly
Not
what I feel?
messages, words, but not messages.
Yeah, well, but the message and how to word it, how to find the right words to express how this watch speaks to me in a way, and also but most of in these meetings, you know it very well. You meet with people that know far more than you and the whole industry together because they live on this. They really know every little detail,
Mm.
and it's how can I interest these people in what I'm going to say?
Do they
What?
interest you?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
What's interesting about them to you?
About them, well,
Mm-hmm.
people know a lot of things. I don't know. It depends on the subject, but people do know a lot of details. I mean, I'm not talking about the guy that knows the movement that Patek Philippe did in 1965 that changed a certain thing
Psh, you don't
inside the.
know that.
No, no, they do. I don't. They
I
do.
don't. I
No, I
don't.
always say this. I do not know. I don't even know the names of the reference of Patek. So go figure. Yeah, that is not interesting, but people know a lot of, I don't know, many details about watches and the industry, and that I fear that the thing I fear the most is not being up to their level to bore them. That's my biggest fear, just to be uninteresting. And what's your fear?
Me, my fear.
Fear,
This
yeah,
is a
or
good question.
apprehensions?
I think I don't want to let people down.
Yeah, that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm at this point I'm pretty confident in my ability to speak in front of crowds, but I guess I would be very disappointed if whatever I shared with them didn't offer them any value. And it's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
pressure.
yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Yes, because that's what I say. You have to honor the people that came to listen to you or that are there to listen you amongst others, you know. So yeah, that's the main thing. What am I going to tell them that is going to keep them interesting, that is going to surprise them? Because we are communicators. In my own, when I collaborate with aBlogtoWatch or with my own webpage in Spanish, excuse me, we are communicators, and actually people rely on us and they ask us, and so you want to give them your most, don't you really? And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is the biggest fear, not to be there for them, when not because of your own, I don't know, status or pride or whatever, that they may think, well, in the end, that guy was an
Well,
idiot
I
in
think
Spanish, but an idiot.
yeah, I
But
think
no,
yeah.
so it's not that. It's that you want to give them your best so that they have a good time, as good a time as we have when we are dealing with watches,
It's
isn't
really
it?
about time, I think, because they're there using their time, and we don't want to waste their time. I mean, look, the name of this show is Spending Time, right? Like,
Yeah.
time has value, and when I came up with that name, you know, I think it had a few purposes. Of course, we're spending money on timepieces, but it's also how we choose to spend our attention. And we
Yeah.
live one time. It's like, so that's why I like talking about more than just watches, right? Like like this whole show is supposed to be about stuff that watch guys are interested in. This would be the fourth show that we've recorded. And again, it's not my first podcast. Do you participate in a lot of podcasting?
None at all. This
Why
is my
not?
first one, actually.
Oh boy, I should like haze you like they do before Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Well, this is again an honor, to be invited by you on your fourth installment. That's
We had really great listenership when we were doing our time, when I was doing with John Biggs. And I don't remember the numbers, but there would be times where it was like, oh, this week we had 50,000 listens on like per episode and
oh
stuff like
wow.
that. Yeah, and we didn't do any marketing of any kind. And granted, back then, I think I started in maybe 2009. There wasn't really a lot of podcasts back then, to be honest. So it was in a much less crowded space. But we did really well, and it was funny. It was a good show. It was a really good show. We made fun of European people's voices all the time. People seemed to love that. They could never get enough of that. Like, we felt like we were performers. We're like, no one really cares what we're talking about, but we caused them to laugh. Um,
Okay, so that I hope that's not the reason you invited me. I listened to
no,
this.
I'm not that guy anymore. And, he brought that out of me. He brought the goofball out of me. John is a very playful guy, and I love that. But I think naturally I'm a little bit more, you know, uh, tight-laced than that in the way I speak. But you are too. You're a proper guy. You and I have read books, gone to school, like wanted to communicate with people that knew more than us. So we had to, learn how to communicate effectively. But not everyone has that desire, right? I mean, I had an interesting conversation actually just a couple of weeks ago that was very related to this. and it had to do with the topic of speaking. And I was speaking to someone who I do consider to be like an actual watch journalist. Like, um, I'm not going to mention this person's name, but they've been doing it for a long time. Just they're not super in the spotlight all the time, so they don't probably don't want attention. But they asked me, and they assumed that there was a major ego incentive in the public speaking element, or the the attention, so to say, this sense of spotlight, being featured in an article, video, and having eyeballs on you. And I said to her that even if there was an egotistical element, it is far overshadowed by the sheer responsibility of having to continuously give people value, and when you give them advice, making sure that it's actually good advice. I mean,
Yeah,
it
true.
is. We are helping people with expensive decisions that mean a lot, and we do want to help the production of good watches. If we're going to endorse watches that we think are good watches, that means more watches like that could possibly be made. In fact, very often are made. I mean, I've not seen the number of watches come out decrease with my standard. In fact, they probably increased. They've probably become a little bit generic, but since I started in the watch industry, several years ago now, I think watches have become a lot more buyable. Just a lot more buyable in general. Like, there's still crap made, but seemingly less of it. But there's less stuff overall made. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Nothing else to say than what you just said. That's absolutely my opinion. Yeah.
So someone is listening. Unfortunately, we're not getting a whole lot of credit for it, but people are listening. But the thing is, in that, going back to this notion of us having a lot of responsibility, what do we do next? Because you and I both know we have definitive value for the consumer. We just don't seem to have a lot of seeming value to the brands that communicate with us a lot. Sure, they want us to let us know about their new products, but what do we really know about their companies and who's responsible for what? They release products all the time without really effectively communicating about them. The messages and information that we get from them seems to be random at best.
Yeah, at best. Yeah. Yeah. If
It's like, I guess sometimes I think, like, bless them for trying, but like I kind of like don't know that they know what to do with us all the time. So I think the consumers have more of an immediate relationship with us or value from us. But what is it that we do with the consumer? How do we maintain this dignity that we value and this ability to say that we stand behind our advice, but at the same time make, for you don't even make a full-time living at it. You do other things. And for me, to grow a business, I'd like to grow. I don't know the answer to those things. It's things that we struggle with, and it's things, unfortunately, that the watch industry has no answers whatsoever on.
Yeah, it's a difficult time. I mean, I don't think people know how hard this is. Well, they don't need to know. I mean, it's
Not
not
just
their
the watch
business.
industry. It's not just the
Yeah, yeah,
watch industry. That's the reason we can't complain.
yeah. But it is our business, and being our business, it is bloody difficult because there is not much empathy from the companies, I'd say. Listen, well,
I
three
don't
weeks
think
ago.
there's much empathy at the companies. Go on.
No, I was talking to a very well-known company, and they told me they were talking to a general public, but I was there in the first row, and the woman said, "There are no blogs in Spain worth reading." And I would, excuse me,
Who said that?
uh, someone from a company,
Oh, okay.
from a very well-known company, really very well-known company. They say that.
That
I said,
must have
"Oh,
felt
okay."
awful.
Yeah, well, she didn't mind actually. I don't know. It was
Oh
I
my
don't
god.
know
I,
if
I
she
wouldn't
was.
even get violent. I would just cry at that point.
Anyway, so I was talking to her afterwards, and she said, "Yeah, no, we're going to concentrate our marketing efforts in Instagram."
Oh,
And I,
that's highbrow.
ah, and I said, "Well, if you are going to do that, you're free to do it, of course, but then do not complain if your company becomes just an earthing.
Okay,
It's
can I
like
tell you something here that's like that you probably know but haven't really considered? Okay, Instagram, Facebook, same company, sends people out to these brands to have meetings. They take them out to they're schmoozing them in order to spend big bucks on social media. They're promising all kinds of stuff. I've seen some of these things. It's not particularly persuasive when you actually look at the results. They promise a lot of unauditable things.
yes, but you know they go for it. Let me tell you one other
They are
example.
for now, but there's going to
Yeah.
be, this is a bubble. Social media, especially spending on it, is a giant bubble. I,
Yes, that's what I think. But let me give you another example.
please.
There was this big brand, not big in terms of volume, but of respect and complexity in the watches. And they presented in Italy somewhere, I can't remember where, a very, very, very complicated watch with a lot of handwork done and all that. And the person they took from Spain there was an influencer, if that
I'm pretty
an
sure that's
influence.
every potential influencer is also a human being. And every potential human being is also an influencer. We influence each other. It's like it's worse than consultant. What do you do? I'm an influencer. Really? So that just means you walk around and interact with people?
Yeah,
What the I
yeah.
mean, like to make that a job thing. Like, are we so deficient that we don't even have a job title for this?
The thing is, the funny thing is, that you saw on the Instagram account of this influencer who I respect because he's up there. I'm not. He is. He's making money out of this. So you could see
No,
first
because
a
those are
picture.
guys that put a price tag with it. They're not doing what we do. They're doing something else. They are
Yeah,
trying to
absolutely,
be like
absolutely.
magazines, and because they have nothing actual to say, it's all just visuals. That's the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
difference between someone that does and doesn't have something to say. Words. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
fashion
Exactly.
magazines, you have nothing to say. You are literally just a showcase for ads. I'm sorry, you bring nothing to the market.
Yes, well, can you imagine the Instagram account of this guy in which he shows a bit of a 250,000 euro watch next to a picture of his hair because he's working with Schwarzkopf or however you
Okay,
pronounce that
you can't
shampoo.
believe this stuff. Okay, you know how easy it is to purchase followers on social media. I don't care what they say. They have
I
done
know.
barely anything to curb the fake accounts. You have in you've seen these videos in the Far East where there'll be this like hundreds and hundreds of phones. It's a real phone, and there's software on them. This stuff is basically, I'm not saying it's undetectable, you can detect patterns, but there's a very, very sophisticated market out there to buy and sell all kinds of numbers on social media.
Yes, yes. It was just another example of how
It's all
stupid the thing
designed to
is
screw
becoming.
up
Is
brands.
is going to end up in thin air, like Shakespeare said. If you put if you consider that your €250,000 watch has to be in an Instagram account that also talks about shampoo for men, then I don't know what do you expect. Well,
Look, I
I
love
guess I'm
new
too old for
things.
this.
You're not too old for it. The problem is this, and I don't know enough about human psychology to say, but at some age, all of us, it's different for all of us, no longer care about trends and only seem to care about established good taste. And of course, it can be in various different areas in our life. It's not like all or nothing, right? But at some point with like music, right? People are like, you know what? I don't need to hear new stuff. I like what I like. And then there's with food and with clothing and with people you're interested in from an intimacy standpoint. Everyone has some time where they just stop being interested in new things. Um, so when you're stop being interested in new things, you don't adopt new behaviors like social media. But just adopting it doesn't mean it's good for you. It just means you're no longer trying out new things. If it actually became valuable and someone said, hey, Santiago, using social media is really valuable for the following reasons, you're like, I'll consider that, right?
Hmm.
But you're not going to try it just because other people are, because you're like, it hasn't demonstrated to me independent value. So it's doing something because it has an inherent value, or doing something because everyone else is, and you feeling compelled from a peer pressure standpoint, which is super powerful, by the way, to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. This is true. This is true. I was just pointing out how crazy the whole thing is with brands and media and all that, how difficult it is for all of us. But, I mean, we're not going to cry here on a podcast, right?
It's not crying. It's having a discussion that I think is important because it's the minority opinion right now. I
Yeah.
remember I was giving a talk. This was a long time ago. This was like in 2010 maybe. And I was giving a talk in San Francisco that was like a digital media conference, and I was talking about blogging and what it takes to have a blog that's, you know, an actual successful blog. And I remember talking about the importance of content, that, you know, content is king, and that, you know, if you have good content, people will discover it, and that the content in many instances is more important than the presentation or the
Still
delivery.
is, right?
Well, these people. So I remember saying to them, you know, the statement, Facebook and whatever comes after Facebook, and literally there was gasps in the room. Like, people stopped and gasped. I had basically suggested that Facebook wasn't going to be around forever, like every other social media platform before it, MySpace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and people like gasped at the non-permanence of a technology company in Silicon Valley. They couldn't accept it. It was the weirdest thing. Even there, right there in super open-minded San Francisco, which these days a lot of people are leaving because they're finding it's no longer that open-minded. But that's interesting, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, MySpace and Snapchat. Snapchat was the thing for companies. Now it is no more.
Snapchat is an interesting tool, but the thing is, I don't know why all of a sudden you come out with an interesting tool. Trillions of dollars need to swarm around it like sharks in a feeding frenzy. Like, leave these poor innovative companies alone. Let them just do their innovative thing. Stop trying to destroy them with money. Like, I get it. Companies need money, a lot of money, but they don't need $1 trillion to like make a cool piece of software. Like, why isn't there investors out there that are just blocking the investors that are ruining companies? Like, people that actually want to invest and say, I want to help a company become a good, profitable company. Maybe not like mega ginormous, but, you know, what's wrong with making just a few $1,000,000 a year? If you make 2% of that, and you've done this for a few times, you're set, and you've got good, sustainable companies that could last 50 years. Why does like everyone now want to make everything like, you know, the Wall Street crasher? Why?
But in the same way that you want the highest discount, makes you feel good, I guess.
No, I don't want the highest discount. I don't. I want to feel
You
like
in
I at least
general.
tried. I tried. As long as I feel like I tried, I owed it to myself. You know what, Ariel? You tried to get a good discount. You did your best. You can never be like, man, should I have asked for more? That's all I need.
Yes, Ariel, but that's you. If you try and you get it, wow, then you got it. You know, I went for $200 million and I got them. Oh, bloody hell, you know, I'm the king of the world. So, you know, we always want more in everything, I guess. And that's why. And then people take the thing they started, their own software business they so loved, but then they sold it and it became something else. And
Okay, I'm gonna put it differently than you. I'm gonna put it differently. You said we always want more, right?
yes.
Okay, I could be wrong. But this is how I sort of rephrase that. We always want as much as that guy we know that has more than us, that like the most, right? So if we know of someone out there that has more than us, we always want what that person wants. In today's world, as connected as people are, we know of billionaires and people that own countries. As long as we are aware of someone out there that has more than us, we will want more than we have. And that is the problem, right? Like in small societies, when there was like a pretty low cap on the best you could be as compared to anyone. You had a 100-person society, the difference between the richest and the poorest is not that much. But in our society, once you are aware of the top that you can go, it's our nature to want to go up.
Yep.
So we get unreasonably ambitious sometimes. Yeah, some people get lucky, but look, you know the rules of randomness. You can't bank on getting that lucky. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, but you see people, some people that make it. So, you always want, I mean, it's okay. It's good. Being ambitious is not bad
Okay,
in that
let
sense.
me
I
ask
want
you a
to be
question.
better.
Okay, you enjoy museums, right?
Yeah, I do.
What's the like when I go to your city, what's the museum I need to go to?
Well, you need to go to El Prado, which is one of the, say, five best in the world. Yeah.
For what kind of art?
Painting, basically.
Like
All
what
sorts of painting.
like what era? Like it's just across eras, just paintings?
Yes, yes. Even before America was founded. Yeah,
Ah,
from the
okay, yes. I am
Middle
aware
Ages up to now.
that paintings have been going on for actually several hundred years before America was founded by the Europeans. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
imagine that.
for reminding me that. Yes. Um, okay, so there's how many works in this museum would you say? Like hundreds, thousands?
Thousands, yeah.
Okay. And that represents what percentage of the total artwork or paintings that were done in the time that this museum
Minimum,
represents?
minimum. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
No, but
But
like
it's
for
so
every
fast.
year, like let's say like the year like 1920, right? Like how many paintings were done in 1920 versus how many paintings from 1920 are in the museum?
I don't know. The percentage in the museum is far less than what it was done, I guess.
Right. So you, like many consumers, are museum goers. You feel comfortable because you go to places like museums that themselves have to do the dirty work of curating for and aggregating all the stuff out there. You know what I mean? Like what I basically do
Yeah.
is I act like a filter. I take in a bunch of watches that like are not cool and I dismiss them, and then I we have a museum, right? Essentially a moving museum of new stuff.
True. Yes. Very well put. Yeah.
So, it is possible to shield yourself and exist in that environment, but it is a very narrow representation of actually what's going on.
But
Okay.
that is not bad, is it?
No, no, okay,
I mean,
we're getting so off topic from watches. Oh my gosh. What are you gonna
no,
say? You're speaking
no, no.
soon,
But
right?
regarding watches, it's not bad that you're a curator and you save people from seeing ugly or badly made watches. That is not bad in itself, is it? They're
No,
missing a lot, but that's very good.
I'm proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm proud of it. Okay, so you said you're speaking to some watch collectors soon, right? What are you gonna talk about?
It's Seiko. These are people that collect Seikos,
Do you
Grand Seiko.
do you collect Grand Seikos?
Yes, I've started my collection with one. That's as far as it goes,
You have
my
one.
collection. But
I have a
it will,
few. I have a
it will
few.
grow. It will grow.
I have I technically have three, four of them.
Lucky you. Do you have a spring drive?
Yes, I actually have two spring drives, and one of
Oh
them
God.
is not a Grand Seiko. It's just a Seiko. It's one of the earliest spring drives.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's from
Wow.
like 2007 maybe, 9 maybe something
Mhm.
like that. It's
That's
a
very
cool
good.
watch. It's big. It's a big 43. It's a cool
Mm.
watch.
My next Grand Seiko will be a spring drive.
Which one?
I must say I'm Snowflake. That's the one that has
Okay,
me
okay. Can I
in
just
love.
say something? I just need to get this off my chest. If
Okay,
you
you don't
have
like
it,
it?
no, no, I didn't say it. If you have a snowflake out there, enjoy it. It's a very lovely timepiece. I know so many people that like the snowflake. I'm trying to figure out where the crack cocaine is that I haven't yet ingested because it's fine. I've never seen one. Thought to myself, oh my god, I have to have one. The people like you that say it, you're like, duh. You're like the best drug. I'm like, I don't understand why it's such a good drug. Like, what is it about the snowflake that is so appealing? I love other dials they make a little bit more to be that excited about.
Well, let me ask you: is there a watch that when you saw it, you said, "Wow, that's such a beautiful watch. I must have that. I want it. I like it so much."
There are
Was
some,
there ever one?
yeah, and they had like very intricate dials that oftentimes were made of like cut gemstones, like gemstone marquetry, because gemstones have such a wonderful deep color to them, and the precision like of cutting gemstones on a watch dial, it just looks so
But
freaking
you
cool.
you fell in love because of the difficulty of the gem setting, or you fell
No,
in love
because
because the looks of it?
it was a bunch of stuff together. It wasn't just one thing.
Yeah, well, same thing as with the snowflake. I love the texture of the dial, and I also admire the artistry of making it. So it's the same thing. It's just not your plate, but it is mine. So that's the thing with watches. They are very highly technical pieces, but they get to us through our senses, not through our emotions, not through rationalizing them. And then you go and say, "Oh, wow, it's so difficult. It took them 60 hours to ensemble or whatever," but they get you through your senses, through the sound or through the eye, the way it looks, and that's what happened to me and the snowflake. That's just easy to understand. Same thing has happened to you with some
So,
other.
are you like planning this? Is it coming soon?
I hope so. I asked Santa, but he's deaf.
Santa's deaf, you say?
Yeah, he's deaf.
When did
Didn't
when
listen.
did you come upon this realization that Santa was deaf?
On the 25th, when I opened my presents, bloody hell, a shirt.
Oh, so
I get it.
Santa hasn't always been deaf.
Well,
That's
that's
too bad. I'm
that.
sorry. I'm sorry about that. I didn't, I didn't accidentally get your snowflake.
You didn't.
No,
Oh,
no.
oh,
But you know what?
damn.
I know so many people apparently that have one. I'm sure someone just doesn't want anymore, and I'll find you one, maybe.
Yeah, please, please.
So many people have that watch. On this show, there's probably, according to the percentage of people in my mind that own snowflakes, 8,000 people that own
Well,
snowflakes. No, not that many.
actually, here is quite a valuable piece because the last one at the official Seiko boutique was sold in back in December, and there's not going to be another one until February. They
Okay, you
said
know
something
what? You
like
know what? I'm gonna go on eBay right now. I'm gonna look for snowflakes. Okay, I want to see how challenging it is to get one.
that.
Okay,
Probably very easy.
because I hear these things sometimes. They're like, you know what the weight is for this Patek Nautilus and steel? Wow, like a whole year. I'm like, wait a minute. Why can't you just go online and just buy one? There's always something available. Okay, here we go. Three. Um, I mean, look, the range in price from the cheapest to the most expensive is like more than $1,000.
And does it make you feel well about it or bad about it
Well,
when there is such a
here's
difference?
one that's this happens all the time. These guys aren't always checking one another. You can see the different countries. Japan always tends to be the most expensive sometimes, not always. This is from Philadelphia. Says it's new. Okay, it's titanium. I didn't realize that. I forgot about that. It's got that dial that you love. Um, that seems like a really fair price. Thank you, Philly Watches. So,
Well, very good. But
I'm not saying you can
that
afford
is
it right now, but I am saying that like this seems to be a good price. It seems to be like at least 1,000 under retail, right?
okay, good. But that is another subject for
Am I
another
peer
day.
pressuring you now? Is this it? Are you
No, 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 no. I'm
maybe
very
I'll
zen about these things. I will control my impulses.
I don't
No,
remember
but
the name of the one I want.
that's listen. That's another subject for another
So
podcast.
you're gonna speak to this group of guys. We're about to wrap the show, but I just want to know you're about to speak to this group of guys, and you need to tell them what it is.
Why I love Grand Seiko.
Um, well, maybe more specifically, shouldn't you tell them about the snowflake? Because it has a lot of features that I'm sure you want to talk about.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is that the Grand Seiko collection, even the Quartz Grand Seiko has something to talk about. So it's going to be a general thing, and it's going
Okay.
to be good.
Okay.
But
Well,
let me suggest a subject for a future podcast with some
please.
other guest. That eBay and all those shops online, does it make the buyer most more trustful, or are you?
You mean you're scared of these purchases?
Well, uh, if I see a Grand Seiko that is with a difference of, say, I don't know, I don't know what you saw, but say with a difference of $1,000, do I trust the whole thing, eBay? Do I trust that guy or that other guy?
What are you worried
Or
about happening exactly? Maybe that's a good question. Like, what do you you
yeah,
say trust? Like, what
yeah,
do you think is going to happen?
exactly. That is the question. What is going to happen? Am I going to be ripped off? Am I going to, like when you buy from China a new other Hermès scarf and what you get is a piece of plastic? That going to happen with my money when I buy a watch in eBay or, all those
So
shops, Chrono?
you're worried that it's fake?
I think no, I think it's quite a common feeling that that is a mysterious world, and there'll be dragons there, and I don't know what's going to happen with my money. I don't know if that is
Isn't
so
that
much.
so you're basically defining just ignorance that can be overcome. Isn't
Yeah,
that overcomable ignorance?
I don't know that fear of what's going to happen. Am
I
I going
mean,
to be on the
uh,
internet because you're buying from somebody,
I guess it's just
feeling.
numbers. I've done hundreds of transactions on eBay over the years. I've been on eBay for almost since the beginning, like almost 20 years now. Hundreds of transactions, all kinds of stuff. Uh, the majority of the time everything's fine. If there's been issues ever, it's all been resolved. I mean, I just maybe it's because I've had a lot of positive experience.
Yeah, but you may agree with me that there is that fear out there. I want a bigger discount because they're ripping me off at the boutique. I'm going to go into, how do you say, Jomoshop or however, or eBay or whatever, Ashford, all these places, and I get these very good prices. But what's going to happen? Is it going to be square?
Okay, let
And
me
am I
let
going?
me let me say my perspective. There's definitely times where I've seen a product and a price which kind of mystified me, and I've been turned off by it and just went away, whether it be a store or a listing on eBay or whatever. Um, the only time I was ever screwed in a transaction was a direct peer-to-peer thing. It was via form, so I'm not saying I've never done those, but those I do quite rarely, if ever. I have found that buying on eBay for me has been, outside of few experiences very early on in my watch buying career, been entirely good. I don't buy a lot of watches anymore, but from time to time I do. Um,
Hmm.
I don't like going to stores. I feel like it's just not an environment I like, and if there's a watch that I want and I can't get through a connection, then yeah, I gotta go online. I also understand the basic possibilities. First of all, is it new or is it fake? It's usually not fake, but you gotta check your way. You gotta inspect things. Where is it coming from? Why is it the price that it is? If the price seems too good to be true, um, there's probably a reason it doesn't work. Maybe there's a cosmetic problem. Maybe it's mislisted. It happens, but you can usually tell. I've looked at so many different types of things, and then you also start to trust certain types of sellers, and also understand variations and things. Like Japanese listings can be all over the place in terms of price. Japan has both the best prices and the worst and the worst prices. I have no idea how this is, and everything in between.
Hmm.
But their product is clean. Like I just bought. Right now, I'm wearing a. You'll laugh. It's a G-Shock from the mid '90s,
That's
right?
nice.
Mint condition. Like it had been put on. I can't even say it had been worn. It had been put on. Original packaging, like $250. Okay, and this is one of the rarest models of its kind in the world. There was like one other one online in like really bad condition.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like there's all kinds of stuff just like that, as well as, your snowflake for $1,000 more. Now that price is probably just a small amount under retail that's allowed. That's the sort of polite amount that they can do as a Grand Seiko dealer in Japan, right? So that's probably not a gray market dealer, but there's no problem with Seiko in Japan having their authorized dealers apparently sell directly on eBay, whereas in America that's not the case. They get all bent out of shape.
Today.
Oh yeah, they have all kinds of crazy restrictions. U.S. retailers have to jump through all kinds of hoops just to do business properly. It's a joke.
That's weird.
Yeah, and then someone in your market will hear that and be like, "What?" There's that.
Exactly.
It's really strange, like the lack of communication. I mean, like I don't understand who's, but no one seems to speak to one another. That's one of the things I think that has been allowing the watch industry in kind of a dysfunctional way to persist. Is that all the types of businesses that they work with don't ever seem to talk to one another really. There's this weird adversarial relation. Think about it. Suppliers hate each other's guts. Customers even hate each other's guts. Media, friendships will occur despite their best efforts, but most media just doesn't seem to like one another. And from a business perspective, it's fiercely competitive,
It is.
right? Like apparently you can't have a party for a watch brand without having a bunch of bitter enemies there, and that's freaking weird.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. This is strange, strange world. This watch market is.
So this entire time, I've been experimenting with something. I've been looking on a couple websites, just watches, just whatever I want to look at. Sometimes related to conversation, not related to. Because again, we want to have a visual element to the show. And if people like that and found it interesting, cathartic, great. But I am looking to make sure that people enjoy the show. So Santiago, how was it to be on, I guess, your first podcast?
A pleasure. It was a real pleasure. It was like talking to you in front of a beer, or without a beer, which is normally the case.
You mean
In
you weren't drinking beer?
no, I wasn't. I'm actually very thirsty, and it's lunchtime here, so I've been tortured by Ariel Adams.
Oh, you poor Spaniard. You can't take your beer at lunch. You know, you can. Can you still go at least?
I will
Okay.
indeed.
See, all is not lost. Okay. Santiago, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Spending Time. Talk to you later.
Thank
Bye.
you.